Ever heard of Ricimer? No. Don't worry. No one has. Not even YouTube's algorithm. But here's the spoiler of the millennium. This guy was basically the CEO of the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Like, he wasn't the emperor. He couldn't be. But that didn't stop him from building his own invisible throne, House of Cards. Colosseum Edition, and pulling the strings of four, yes, four, emperors. For co-workers who trusted him. And ended up in the celestial HR department. Imagine Peter Baelish from Game of Thrones, but with less charm and more beheadings. Ricimer was the master behind the curtain. While emperors were barely warming the throne, he was already updating the LinkedIn post. Now hiring, new emperor. Symbolic salary, short life expectancy, 0 benefits. The empire was in full Dark Souls level 10 mode, dying everywhere, and Ricimer decided to play on Shadow Boss difficulty. The guy didn't show up in the credits, but he was directing, writing, and cutting the final scenes of everyone who dared to think they were in charge. 5th century Rome was basically a chaotic reality show. Like Big Brother, Colosseum Edition. And Ricimer was that one contestant who never gets voted out, because he's the one choosing who goes home. So buckle up, because today we're diving into the story of a man who wasn't emperor. He was worse. So, who the hell was Ricimer? Imagine if someone modded Skyrim so your character was half royal barbarian, half Roman elite, maxed out charisma, and carried a sword big enough to cut plotlines, and emperors, short. Ricimer was born with the ultimate, you can't sit with us, energy. His dad. A Suevic king, basically a big-shot barbarian chieftain. His mom. Roman nobility with blood ties to the imperial fam. So Ricimer was too barbarian to be emperor, but too Roman to be ignored. Like if Geralt of Rivia showed up in succession with a resume that says, experienced in backstabbing, siege warfare, and aggressive career growth. Now, Rome had a rule. No barbarians on the throne. Because apparently, being half-godlike noble only mattered if you didn't wear fur and speak Gothic at dinner. But Ricimer didn't care. He was like, fine, I'll just run the empire without technically running the empire. So he joined the Roman army, crushed a few invasions, rose through the ranks like he had cheat codes on, and by his early 30s, he was basically the minister of who lives, who dies, who gets cancelled. The Senate liked him. The army followed him. The emperors, well, they tolerated him. Right up until he added them to his to be removed list. He was the guy with the sword, the squad, and the strategy. Rome gave him a badge that said, General, and he used it like an admin pass to rearrange the imperial furniture. Ricimer couldn't wear the crown, so he just became the dude who chose who did. Okay, so here enter Avitus, our first sacrificial emperor in this reality show hosted by Ricimer. Avitus was a former general, a meh choice plucked from Gaul, and crowned while Rome was basically on fire and screaming internally. The West was falling apart, but sure, let's hand the empire to a guy who looks like he'd get lost in a toga store. Now, Ricimer played along at first. He acted all supportive, did the whole, yes, my emperor routine. But deep down, he was looking at Avitus the way a cat looks at a glass on the edge of a table, with intent. See, Avitus wasn't exactly popular. The Romans thought he was too Gallic, too awkward, too not Roman enough. Even the Senate was like, is this the best we could do? And Ricimer? He saw opportunity. He gathered his troops, fanned the flames of discontent, and basically speedran a political coup like he was doing an any % glitchless speedrun of imperial takedowns. He marched to Rome, flexed some muscle, and Avitus got the memo, step down or get stepped on. The guy abdicated in a panic, tried to become a bishop, yes, really, and then mysteriously died shortly after. Mysteriously. Totally random. Definitely not Ricimer's fault. Wink. Imagine starting your dream job and immediately realizing your coworker is The Witcher meets Frank Underwood. Avitus didn't stand a chance. He was the tutorial boss in Ricimer's campaign of chaos. Or, as the ancient Romans probably never said, Veni, Vidi, Vazu. Enter Majorian. Cue the heroic soundtrack. This guy was different. He wasn't just another toga-wearing NPC waiting to be deleted by Ricimer. No, Majorian actually had main character energy. Muscles, brains, reforms. He came in swinging like he was auditioning for Assassin's Creed, Rome Edition. And get this, Ricimer liked him. At first. Yep, they were brothers buddies. Battle companions. Ricimer helped Majorian get the imperial job after Avitus took a permanent sabbatical from breathing. It was supposed to be a power couple moment. Ricimer as the puppet master, Majorian as the well-groomed, obedient frontman. But then Majorian got ideas. Bad ones. Like, let's rebuild the Western Roman Empire level ideas. He started reforming the army, cleaning up the tax system, and even launched plans to take back North Africa from the Vandals. Basically, he was trying to do a new Game Plus run of the Empire. Ricimer? Not amused. Because guess what doesn't mix well with a shadow ruler? An emperor with ambition. Things got icy fast. Ricimer realized Majorian wasn't just a placeholder. He was trying to actually govern. EW. So in a totally unexpected plot twist, read, completely predictable, Ricimer ambushed him, imprisoned him, and then had him executed. Like a boss fight where the final blow comes from your own party member. It was the Game of Thrones arc no one wanted to see. Majorian as Jon Snow trying to unite the realm, and Ricimer as Littlefinger stabbing him in the back mid-monologue. Majorian tried to be the hero. Ricimer already wrote the script. And there was no room for a protagonist. Hey Discovers, real quick before we dive back in, I've got a small favor to ask. If you love historical curiosities, epic battles, crazy mysteries, and mind-blowing stories that most people don't know about, then hit that subscribe button right now. That way, you won't miss any of our new videos and can keep uncovering insane facts every week. And of course, smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow and brings you even more awesome content. Alright, let's jump back into history. Okay, now we're entering NPC territory. After Majorian got the OL Ricimer special, Betrayal plus Sudden Death, our guy needed a new emperor. But not someone competent. Oh no, he needed a potted plant with a pulse. So he picked Libius Severus. You've never heard of Libius Severus? Neither had the people of the time. Honestly, not even Google knows who this guy is. Type his name into a search and it says, "Did you mean Lego Severus?" Severus was the Roman equivalent of a random intern sitting in the CEO's chair to take a selfie and post #bosslife. The man didn't have the support of the Senate. He didn't have the respect of the military. And he certainly wasn't allowed to make decisions without looking at Ricimer first as if to ask, "May I?" While Severus was just a sidekick, Ricimer was the real ruler. He was the driver of the empire. Severus was just the dummy on the GPS that said, "Turn left," while Ricimer was already cutting through a bunch of burning provinces. Oh, and spoiler, the Eastern Empire was pissed off with this nonsense. They didn't even recognize the poor guy as emperor. It was like, "Who is this?" And Ricimer replied, "My boss, I swear." Libius Severus reigned for 4 years. 4 years. Basically being a premium extra. Then he died, and no one knows exactly how. But you can guess who wasn't too sad. Severus was the Roman version of a pop-up that you ignore until the system crashes. Then the Eastern Empire got tired of the mess. Like, back in Constantinople, the guys were watching the Western horror show and thinking, "Okay, let's send someone who knows how to govern before Ricimer turns Rome into a real-time game of Among Us." So they sent Anthemius, a respected general, a decent diplomat, and with a "let's save this place" vibe that reminded him of Aragorn arriving to rebuild Gondor. Only without the elves and with a lot more treachery involved. Ricimer had to accept. He couldn't say no to the Eastern Empire. But inside, he was like this neutral face. Because Anthemius arrived with plans, troops, and worse, a personality of his own. And then it was only a matter of time until it became UFC in the Senate. Anthemius wanted an alliance with the East, to beat the Vandals, to restore imperial dignity. What did Ricimer want? Control, silence, and maybe a cappuccino. And Anthemius didn't deliver any of that. The atmosphere between the two was more tense than a family reunion at the end of the year with politics on the agenda. Spoiler, again civil war. Yes, Rome in 472 AD literally turned into versus mode. Ricimer gathered allies, surrounded Anthemius in Rome, and after months of siege, finish him. Anthemius was captured and beheaded. Ricimer wins. Fatality. The only thing missing was the Mortal Kombat music. This was the last serious attempt to save the empire. And Ricimer responded with a scythe, a siege, and an invisible signature on the death certificate of the West. Here's the plot twist that was never really a twist. Ricimer was never emperor. Not because he didn't want to be. Oh no. He had the ambition, the brains, the army, the receipts. But he had one fatal flaw. He wasn't Roman enough. The elites looked at him and saw Barbarian. Like, full Skyrim expansion pack. No crown for you, Dragonborn. But Ricimer? He said, fine. Keep your stupid title. I'll just run the empire from behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz, but with more executions. And that's exactly what he did. For over 15 years, Ricimer was the man behind every major move in the Western Roman Empire. He picked the emperors, fired them violently, negotiated with generals, bribed senators, and decided when it was war o'clock. He basically turned the empire into his personal Dungeons and Dragons campaign where he was the dungeon master, and everyone else? Just waiting to be rolled out of existence. The emperors were expendable. Temporary. Like iPhone chargers. Ricimer was the power outlet. He built alliances, shattered them for fun, started civil wars like they were Twitter threads, and kept the empire on life support. Mostly to keep himself in charge. But here's the punchline. Even he couldn't hold it together forever. After Anthemius, the wheels finally flew off the imperial clown car. Ricimer died of natural causes. Yep, he gets the peaceful ending. But by then, the empire was already circling the drain. Rome didn't fall in one day. But it sure fell faster with Ricimer as the guy holding the crowbar. He wasn't the emperor. He was worse. He was the patch update that broke the whole system. So, let's review real quick. Ricimer never wore a crown, never claimed the throne, never had a statue, a holiday, or even a cool nickname like the Great or the Conqueror. And yet, he ran Rome like it was his side hustle. For 15 years, this dude was the ultimate shadow boss, making emperors disappear like unpaid interns. He overthrew Avitus, ghosted Majorian, soft-launched Libius Severus into obscurity, and straight-up decapitated Anthemius. If Ricimer had a LinkedIn profile, it would just say, job title, kingmaker, and occasional emperor unmaker. Location, the ruins of civilization. He was like the final boss of Assassin's Creed that you never even realized was there until he suddenly deletes half the cast. Or that one Succession character who never appears in the opening credits but somehow controls the family trust. Rome didn't fall because of one bad emperor. Rome fell because it stopped having real emperors. It had figureheads, puppets, ghosts in purple robes. And Ricimer? He was the hand up the puppet, steering the whole flaming ship straight into the historical abyss. When he died, the Western Roman Empire basically looked around and went, wait, who's in charge now? Answer: nobody. Cue the game over screen. So yeah, history might have forgotten his name, but Ricimer didn't just watch Rome fall. He scheduled the fall, hosted the fall, and sold tickets to it. If there were a video game where you could destroy the Western Roman Empire playing as just one character, Ricimer would be that character. And the bad ending? That's the only ending.